welcome to SAi TV. My name is Fanuel Muindi, and thank you for joining us today. So for all you joining us for the first time, our goal is simple here at SAi TV. We want to bring you the latest information, news, events around civic science happening everywhere around the world. And so you may be wondering, what is civic science? So that's everything, including science communication, public engagement with science, informal STEM learning, and also science policy. So what we try to do is to bring you what's happening with the people, their stories, the events. And so it's a big task to undertake. And so we want to bring you some of that information in a digestible, easy manner. And so with that, let's get started. And so first up, LPS. That is Letters to a Pre-Scientist. So have you heard of this program? If you haven't, well, you need to check them out. What they do is work with 5th to 10th graders, students, and they call them pre-scientists in US low-income communities. And what they do is to match them with a different STEM professional. And so many students get paired with someone who doesn't fit their stereotypical image of a scientist. And so what they do essentially is to exchange these letters, 8 to be exact, over the school year and discuss higher education pathway. So the link is in the description below to look at their website, but it's a fantastic program that I, to full disclosure, did serve on an advisory board several years ago when they were still setting up the program into what it is today. So why snail mail? And so snail mail is a model, they selected it because it's low cost, accessible worldwide, and it's a unique way to facilitate human connection. And I think I have to agree, they've gone back to the basics, and I think that's a wonderful way to, again, bring those elements, the lure of opening letters. And if you visit their Twitter, you will see these letter opening events and stories that they share with everyone. And so next up is a new publication written in the Journal of Science Communication by Mahiri L. Stewart from Museum für Naturkunde in Berlin about Forum SCICOMM that took place in October 2022. And so here's a closing paragraph that I want to read you from her. And I quote, "On reflection, Forum SCICOMM was the embodiment of this year's theme. It represents a field, a practice, and a community in transition. From an established focus on media, press releases, and methods of information dissemination, a new cohort of practitioners are asserting themselves with a strong focus on co-creation, inclusivity, and dialogic methods, and an emphasis on the purpose of the activity rather than the methods. The way ahead promises to be fascinating as these two overlapping outlooks forge a pathway that allows them to learn from each other, find synergies, and develop a practice that advances the purpose as well as the methods of science communication in Germany." End quote. The link to that paper is below. Do check it out. It's a fast read. It's actually more of a comment. So do check that out. The Journal of Science Communication has great insights that you should explore when you have time. And so with that, lastly, science cafes were recently the topic of discussion. In fact, last week were topic of discussion at Imperial College London to mark the 2023 International Day of Education that took place on the 24th of January. So the online event featured contributors from several countries, including Nigeria, Portugal, and the UK, that have all been involved in diverse Science Cafe projects. Now, what makes Science Cafe special is that they allow for an informal exchange between scientists or experts in a specific field with non-experts that include the general public. Now, you may recall that we chatted with founders of Science Cafe in Bogota last year. So do encourage you to check out that video if you have not. Now, of course, we were super lucky to actually engage with one of the panelists from the session, Wealth Okete, who actually talked with me briefly and told me more about his Science Cafe in Benin, Nigeria. And so we're going to share that interview with you today. Now, before we get there, though, let us do the numbers. As always, these are hashtag SciComm, the hashtag SciComm numbers on Twitter. And so have a peek, and I will see you in just a moment.
So, here is a quick explainer of what you are looking at with the dashboard we have put together here. First of all, Talkwalker is a social media listening and analytics platform. It helps companies track and analyze their online presence, including mentions of their brand, products, and competitors on social media, news websites, blogs, and forums. With that said, Twitter engagement is simply the sum of retweets and likes. These are also displayed as a function of geography and also the top influencers based on the total sum of the retweets and likes from their tweets over the 7-day period. Talkwalker's sentiment analysis uses natural language processing and machine learning algorithms to analyze text data and determine the sentiment expressed in it as positive, negative, or neutral. It analyzes various aspects of the text, such as word choice, tone, and context, to make a prediction, and this is important, on the overall sentiment of the text. Note that the assessment does not include neutral. The results, both total and the over time plot, essentially represent the number of conversations people are having about the hashtag at a specific point in time. The higher the number, the more activity there is at a specific time point. The line chart shown here displays the data over a 7-day period.
Okay, so we chatted with Wealth Okete, as I mentioned earlier. And so here is part of that interview. The Science Cafe, what is it all about?
Okay, so Science Cafe is basically a community of young people in bioscience from Nigeria, and we are gradually spreading across Africa. We have a few members from non-Nigerian African countries already. So we started a community because we wanted to create that platform for young people to, interact, to learn, to gain skills, just preserve that passion for research they have, for scientific research or science-related careers they have. So
and growth, you meaning the number of members or something else?
Yeah, number in terms of our numerical strength, we've grown. Also in terms of our activities, innovation and all of that, we've also grown in that sense.
So why call it Science Cafe? I'm curious. So tell us more about that.
Okay. I think there's an aspect that we've not discussed. The co-founders have not discussed publicly before. So I think we had a challenge coming up with a name initially. So I think the first idea that came, one of the co-founders, Martin, thought it was it didn't really capture the essence of the community, because we are looking at something more of discussion, talks and all of that. So one of the co-founders, Martin, suggested the name Science Cafe, and it kind of really made sense because it had this kind of relaxation and sense of relaxation to it. So it's a science community, is also a cafe. So you just come, you talk, and maybe you sip coffee while doing that. So yeah, so that was why we adopted the name Science Cafe. So I think I should also say that after we adopted the name, so while we were trying to get on social media, we realized that there were several science cafes across the world. So it was like, okay, so this name isn't really unique to us. So there are already several other cafes. So, but we decided to keep the name because it really fitted into what we were doing and what we wanted to be like identified with.
Yeah, and I think that the science cafes do come in different shapes and sizes, and the goals are also different. You were recently, in fact, I had the pleasure of hearing you talk at the Imperial College this past week. And so there, it was actually a convening of science cafes, right? Leaders of science cafes and studies. So it was fascinating to hear the different aspects of different groups and what they're trying to do. So how does your Science Cafe differ from others?
Okay, so I think the first thing I would say about our community is that we are first a community of scientists, young emerging scientists, and that is like a major strength for us because the whole there's been this kind of global call for young people to take up challenges, become change in their environment, even there in Nigeria. Recently they passed the Not Too Young to Run bill, so more young people can get into the political space. So that's first our strength, the fact that we are majorly young people, undergraduates, people who just left university, and those in graduate school. And then I think another strength of ours is that we are first a science community. So I know it's like most science cafes are like maybe informal settings where you are whatever you're doing is for the public. You're trying to educate the public and get to inform them and make them understand, appreciate science. But for us, we are first I think it's more of let's build ourselves, and then when we are strengthened, we can use that knowledge to impact our world, in fact, impact the wider society. So I think those are areas that we are unique. So also, I think science cafes, usually the old physical meetings, but our meetings are online. So I think that gives us a strength of a numerical strength in some sense, and also in the sense of different perspectives, because people, even though majority of our members are Nigerians, they live in different continents. So sometimes their exposure, their experiences and perspectives, come into conversations or discussions, and so you can hear people just sharing from their own experience, what they've seen in other regions of the world, or maybe other parts of the country or the continent. So
5-10 years, where is Science Cafe? Where is your Science Cafe? Where do you hope that it will be, essentially?
Okay, an interesting question. I think that's something we talk about frequently, especially as co-founders. And like I said our strength is the fact that we are young, and when people are young, they have there is endless possibilities. So sometimes we have that conversation that, okay, in 20-30 years time, we'll have several professors in Science Cafe. We have like people at the top of industry in Science Cafe. So we are earnestly looking forward to that time in the future. So I would say in 5 years time, I do hope that we've really grown to reach out to other African countries, because we feel there's this African challenge, or this this sense of this kind of challenge that is unique to Africans, and we are hoping that our community is able to really address some of those challenges. And we believe that as our members are growing in their own careers, in rank, in organizations or whatever, it also gives us that strength, because these people have been with us from the beginning. So in some sense, they know that we've contributed to helping them advance their careers. So there'll always be that need to want to give back, to impact people. So we do not think of a time in the future where we'll be short of mentors for young people, where we'll be short of ideas or whatever. So that's like what I foresee for the community. So maybe in 5 years time, I believe we'll have a couple of persons who already have their PhDs in the community. I would also have spread to other African countries and grown in numerical strength, and also would also be exerting much more impact than we are currently doing across the continent and globally.
People want to get involved, first of all, or find out more about what you're doing. Where can they go?
Yeah. Okay, so for now, majority of our operation is on social media. We are really working hard to get a website. Let me say in the first half of this year. So once we get a website, it'll be easier to learn more about us. But we are on LinkedIn. We are also on Facebook and Twitter.
I hope you enjoyed some of those insights from Okete. I hope to have him back later this year to get an update with what's going on with his group and learn more about the developments that have taken place. Now, our special correspondent, Victoria Gonzalez, talked with a 10-year-old founder of Team Genius Squad.
The latest SAi special report features 10-year-old Ava Simmons, who created her own organization called Team Genius Squad. After struggling with a reading disorder, Ava decided to help others overcome educational challenges and discover their learning style through hands-on experiments in conducting literacy and entrepreneurial programs. Now, as we all know, it's not easy for nonprofits to receive funding, so Ava's unique approach is to design and sell her own STEM-inspired products with the help of her parents, of course. giving her the chance to provide free materials for children in her community who take part in her experiments. From North Carolina, Ava is now seen as a STEM leader across the country, since her videos have reached thousands of people online who feel inspired to discover their inner genius, no matter the level of their reading and math skills. Ava's plans for the future include traveling to different states in her own STEM lab truck to continue reaching new audiences and spreading STEM awareness. Check out the full report on our channel to learn about her story. Back to you, Fanuel.
Do check out that interview that Victoria conducted that was posted last week. The link is below. It's a fascinating listen. So with that, you're all caught up for the week. And I thank you so much for stopping by. And I will see you next week. Thank you.